alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, listeners, and welcome to the Glamour Youth Podcast. I'm your host, Bazara Mariam Saeed, and I'm very excited to be with you today. Today, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Hawa Karim, as well as our brother, Ahmed Usman. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And how are we doing today?
Alhamdulillah, all's good on my side. And you?
Alhamdulillah, all's good on my side too.
So the topic we'd love to dive in today is something that I'm sure most of us have thought about and have had conversations about, and it's more of like culture, identity, as well as our community. And sometimes when we think about these three words, we ask ourselves, how does this play hand in hand? But it actually plays an important role in our lives. As from our community, we do learn more about ourselves. We can learn independence as well as dependence from our community, depending on how we do live in this community. So the question I'd love to ask us today is, what do you think about a community, or what are your thoughts about our community?
Ladies first, inshallah.
Okay. What are my thoughts about my community? Let me say. First of all, I don't know if I should speak in Islamic perspective. Is that what you're asking from?
Speak in your community, generally, whether it be Islamic, whether it's not Islamic,
Culture.
Okay.
Okay. My thoughts about our community, all in all, I'll just say that there's a lot of ignorance in our community, and I would like to say there's a lot of ignorance nowadays, in our community. So, yeah, that's my thoughts about our community. A lot of ignorant people, a lot of ignorant youth, a lot of ignorant people ignorant to the deen, people ignorant to the culture as well. Yeah. Those are my thoughts about it.
Well, from my side, I should just touch base on Dean, right? What I would say about my community in general is the fact that what I see, it's a personal opinion again, not to criticize anybody out there, but a personal opinion of my own. I just feel like nowadays majority of people are example again, I'm a Muslim, as you all know, so I'm speaking about from an Islam perspective as well. The fact that I personally feel that many people in our community nowadays are just Muslim by name rather than actions. I think that's where also the term ignorance comes from as well.
Yeah. So what are some positive things or negative things that you can find within the community? Within your community?
Okay, within my community, I'll first start with the negative. Let me start with the negative. Okay, I don't want to say that. No, I actually want to say that. Community plays a very big influence on a person's upbringing and their beliefs as well. So, for example, if I grow up in a community where I'm used to certain things done in a certain way, I'm going to think that that's the right way because a lot of people are doing it that way. You see, so when I say about negative, first of all, I grew up in a community. Let me say, I wouldn't say Islamic community because not everyone around me was Muslim, So yeah, like people that I went with to school, people that I went with, people that I lived with as neighbors, the one Muslim. So yeah, I don't say that there was negative because in my household there's the deen that I need, But then as soon as I step outside, then I want to act a certain way because I want to fit into in that community, you see. So yeah, in my community, that's the negative stuff in my community. And positively is that, it's not like they're going to come to you and say, act a certain way, So it's again you and how you want to act or how you feel about what you want to do, basically. So yeah, I don't know what it is.
I mean, on my side, I think just to latch on also as well to what she started in speaking about when it comes to like the negativity in our community or in my community in general. Again, it's all about the outside noise, as she was just stipulating there. I feel like in our community there is a lot of outside noise, and the way we're becoming westernized basically, right? And then that's sort of like taking the element of our pure culture, the pure manners that our forefathers and our parents are trying to instill in us, where we are trying to mimic the outside world or mimic the certain criteria of people out there and so on, and that's impacting on how we're growing up and going up against our values. And then the positive part, I would say honestly, the positive part, I give it to hats out to our parents, right? Hats out to our parents. They are the positive nature in our community. because like as much as we try to step aside or step outside of that, they are steadfast in terms of like trying their utmost best to keep us in that in that hold, you know, in that upbringing, even though we fight it a lot and we see it as a negative impact and so on. When they say like you have a curfew or you can't go out, and so and so and so and so on, we take it as a negative thing, but that's actually the positive part in the community where they're still trying to basically uphold and upbring that the roots that they grew up with in their side and put it into us as well.
So, what is a positive implementation that you'd like your community to bring? Like, for example, in my community, we are both Muslims and Christians in our community. So we have this thing where, for example, on Ramadan, we have a mass iftar. So that iftar doesn't only invite the Muslim people, but as well as everybody in the community, as they treat it as a community. So like it's a community gathering. So do you have any of that, or would you like your community to implement those?
Yes, I would actually love for my community to actually implement such thing, because then if such thing is implemented, then there will be such, you know, love between neighbors and all that. And like for the Muslims that lives like in my community, you know, I would like for them to actually initiate it, you know. Like during Ramadan, they should be the one like going to neighbors, knocking on the doors and be like, here's this, here's that, you know, since we could this, you know, sharing and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd love my community to actually implement such thing. Then positive vibes will be spreading all over. Then they'll know like, oh, this is the month of Ramadan, you know, this and that is happening, or yeah.
From my side, actually, again, just to latch on what you just said, but just a slight tweak into it, where I feel like, um, I don't want it to only be in Ramadan, right? You know, I don't want it to only be in Ramadan or the change to only happen in Ramadan. It's just like as Muslims, again, not judging anybody out there, but we like get into a certain mindset when it's in Ramadan and when we're out of Ramadan, you know. So I wouldn't want that to be of our community where we only sort of like, you know, getting in that mindset in a particular time frame, but rather all year out. Because I've read about where there's some communities that do like these food schemes and so on a weekly basis, some even on a monthly basis. But that's something that a community can inherit and also start implementing, because like, you know, when it comes to growth and when it comes to building love, you fully only grow by looking of those that have less than you. Whenever you're looking at towards people that have more than you don't ever get, you're always envious, you get a jealousy and you start scheming and so on. But the moment you're looking at those below you and those underneath you, it's where you build that appreciation of what you have and that mahabba of giving out and giving more and so on, you know. So I would feel like that is something I want our community to implement. More fooding schemes, more gathering, more educational gathering as well, if that's a possibility, to also just get the youth outside the streets and more into an educational platform where they can actually use that to benefit themselves and their community.
Yeah. Beautifully said. Not really, he actually said it all.
So another question I'd like to ask is, we know we are living in a society that is changing rapidly. And what is one thing that you face? What's the challenge that you face in our community?
Okay. Challenges that I face. First of all, let me say as a student, you know, speak on my challenges as a student. Growing up in a community where, as I said, not everyone is Muslim. So going to school dressed a certain way, you know, where I have to wear my hijab and stuff like that. So that's the first challenge that I faced. Getting people, I mean, other children coming up to me and asking me, why do you have to wear that? I mean, take that off, or you look certain way. Why you look like that? Don't wear that, you know. So yeah, as a child, that's the challenges that I faced. I would say only as a child, you know, up until now, as I said, there's ignorant people, you know, they know why you're wearing that, but they also just want to come up to you and, you know, be mischievous and stuff like that. So, yeah, wearing my hijab is one of my challenge, walking around with it. But, alhamdulillah, still wear it proudly.
And for you, Brother Ahmed, what are some challenges you face in the community?
Okay, I'm gonna start with first from being as a Muslim in my community, right? So I'm living with our fellow South Africans as well. So the thing that I normally get like on a Friday, right, is when, or even if it's Ramadan, or when I wear my thobe, basically, right, the white thobe, and then I'm walking out, and then you'll find where people will like, they'll be in shock, like asking me like, are you Muslim? And then I'm like, yes, and they're like, you're black, but you're black and you're Muslim. You know, where I get that, where they have this sense of understanding as like Islam belongs to like the Indians or the Arabs and so on, you know. So it's not like they don't expect a black person to be a Muslim. So I'd say that's like a challenge that I have, where I feel like majority of them just aren't educated enough when it comes to our religion. because like I remember I did have a chat with one of the sisters that did ask me, and yo, subhanallah, the response that I was getting from her was completely like she wasn't aware fully of what Islam was, more of like what they perceived it to be. And the moment she got to understand it, she started falling in love. Like they started understanding like why a woman cover and so on. Because that's like another thing where they have a problem with like why do they cover and then so on. But then when you like break it down to them and you explain it to them, they get a better understanding of it. Then they start to see like what Islam is about. That it's a religion. It's not a culture or something that they have in mind. So I think that that's like one of the major challenges that I do face. And then the other one, I think, again, not to pinpoint anyone again, just for us guys, as I mentioned in the beginning, that I feel like majority of people nowadays are Muslim by name rather than by actions, you know, because same feeling that I was getting from a non-Muslim, it's sad to say, subhanallah, that I was also getting something similar from like a Muslim person as well, where like I wore my kurta, my thobe, right? But it wasn't on a Friday. And as soon as I walked into the room, they were like, it's not Friday today. Why are you wearing your kurta, you know? And then like for me, it just hit me a bit different. Like, okay, am I supposed to wear just a kurta on a Friday, or am I supposed to be a Muslim just on a Friday? Am I supposed to pray just on a Friday? You know, so it's just those are the things that is just bringing me to sadness. Where you know you're under the impression that Islam is growing and we're supposed to be getting stronger and so on, but yet if the Muslims themselves are the ones that are weak. Now, what is other people out there supposed to think about us?
So, what are your contributions to the community, or what do you think you can implement to the community that can help the community become better?
Um, from my side, honestly, personally speaking, like as a personal contribution, I think number one, I feel like education is one of the primary aspects that I want to tackle. And so me personally, I would want to like host whether it's tuitions or after class lessons or even weekend lessons, because I know like in my community not many do get that privilege to actually go for like after class lessons and tuition and so on. And you know, with education, like when we used to go, oh, when I used to go to school like Monday to Friday, as soon as Friday hits, you like your mind's already weekend, you want to open your books next Monday, talk to me on Monday, you know, when you're at school. So I feel like something on the weekend, like a tuition class, just to keep that frame in there still in an educational aspect. I feel like it will keep them less on the street, and rather also again from a perspective where I feel like I can give my own insight on speaking that I'm from the community and I've grown up, I've studied, and I'm alhamdulillah I'm working. You know, it's more beneficial for me to speak in the community and help like guide my fellow peers rather than someone else coming in, you know, and just giving your lesson and so on. You're not going to take them that serious because again, you know, you don't really truly know what someone's going through until you've actually been through it. So I feel like it hits home when someone from home is sort of like giving you that guide. So I feel like from a personal perspective, that is one thing that I want to actually start off, giving out lessons on the weekend. And then for those who want to attend, alhamdulillah. For those who wouldn't, they'll probably fall in love after seeing those that are attending, how it's helping change in their lives. I think that's one of the things that I want to implement as well.
Honestly, I wouldn't agree more with what he says. Like, that's exactly what I would do. Also, try to bring everyone together. It always starts with friends. The people that you have within. Where you motivate them to attend little. Maybe youth groups. Little maybe there's some lectures. And yeah, like just start something where everybody can be together and something positive they can get something positive out of it. For example, like a youth group that I normally attend. It's called Grammar Youth. In that group, mostly, we uplift each other, and one thing I like about them, it's not only we don't help ourselves only, so we go out there and try to find anyone out there that we can help, give out sadaqah, whatever we can, talk here and there, give dawah, would bring people that can talk to us, so yeah, it starts off as bringing groups together. Yeah.
And that's just to add on to that, you know, as she's mentioning like a youth group. You know, just by thinking about it, just the context of it alone, like a youth group for us youth, I feel like that is more productive in terms of getting the message out there. Again, like you know, we're all youth, right? And then it's very seldom where we take advice from like our elders and so on. Like we tend to bounce it off. But then if like your fellow youth is sort of giving you that platform, and again, we all come from that perspective where we feel like our parents don't really get us in most circumstances. We feel like they don't really understand us, or they're not really trying to understand us. Even though they are caring from their own way, if you look at it. But then from our side, it's more like they don't know me, or they're not getting me, or they're not trying to meet me halfway, and so on. So I feel like it's going to be more open for us to listen to suggestions and advice coming from the youth within the youth. So I feel like that's a really good thing, being part of a youth group that's helping develop and so on. Giving your guys that safe space to also be able to speak out your problems, because us youngsters, again, no one here really talks to their parents about problems and things that they're really going through. And I feel like that's like the start of many conflicts, man, because I feel like we keep things in, we keep things bottled up and so on, until when we come to actually take it out or explode, or use other methods to take it out, like join gangs or get into violence and so on. All that is because we don't have that platform to, like, be free and just open up for someone to listen to us, for someone to advise us, and someone to guide us. So I feel like if we have that youth thing happening, I feel like it's gonna open more room for us to, like, listen, get advice, and hopefully again structure our lives in the way we're going ahead in life.
That's really beautiful. I really love the concept of a youth group in a community. And do you feel like having a youth group in a community is a need? Because like you said, mentioning the elders again, there is this generational gap that we do have with our parents. So it's hard for them to understand us, and it's hard for us to get the message across to them. But at the same time, we do need their help, like in terms of a youth group. The youth group can't be raised by the youth alone. So how do you think we can balance the fact that we do need that generational gap in the youth group?
As you said, that a youth group cannot, grow as with youth only. So before the youth group actually start, the idea has to be brought to, people that are, let me say, people that are used to group stuff, like adults that have been, maybe in certain groups, or they know how to navigate certain groups. So even adult initiate something, for example. And also, we live in a community where parents, they feel like, that child is bad for me, or if I don't hear it from an adult person, the other, or the mother of that child, I'm not going to send my child to that place. So as soon as we have that voice of like an adult, a man or a woman in that youth group, that will also make the parents put them at ease with their mindset and be like, okay, my child is actually, I'm sending my child to this place, and she might get something out of it. She's not just going there with those other children to just go play or fool around and stuff like that. So yeah, like an adult is necessary, to start actually a youth group. So yeah, there needs to be collaboration with an adult that also understands and knows where you're coming from, and would also help with everything around the group actually.
Just as you're just speaking right now, just a point to note, like, again, the name may just be the youth group, but again, a youth group isn't just about the youth. It's again, it's a collaboration, as you mentioned, again, of the youth and the parents. Because do keeping in mind, as we may say, yes, the parents don't understand them and so on, but at the same time, our parents do wish the best for us and want the best for us. Right. So it's just a matter of literally getting to those parents and look here, we have an idea that's for us and gonna be good for us. And I know for a fact that parents will be willing to join, number one, at least even to give their guidance, because remember, again, parents guidance is something we cannot get anywhere else. Just for them to give in their guidance, their input, and we can run everything, the youth can run everything, but with the guidance and the supervision of the parents on the back end. And then hopefully it grows into something bigger and greater for the community and the youth as well.
Anything you'd like to add?
No, that's all that I'd say.
Alhamdulillah, as we come to the end of the episode, I find myself reflecting once more on my faith and on the threads that bind everything together. And with that being said, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
No, definitely don't. And for those that feel like they'd want to add in more questions or questions that we should be asking, and or any other input, drop it down in the comments, inshallah, and we will look at it. And hopefully on our next episode, we will be going down through all the comments, inshallah. If someone did note down something we should implement and we should ask, then we'll put it through.
And I mentioned in the group, as we talked about a youth group called Glamour. If you want to know more or join the group called Glamour, you are more than welcome to send your messages through our handles that's going to be provided on this video. So yeah, anybody is welcome. If you are in the Cape Town region, you are more than welcome, be it Muslim or non-Muslim.
And with that being said, I've been your host, Bazara Mariam Saeed. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.